Hello, everyone. Today we are lucky enough to be talking to Coach West from Penn State Harrisburg. How you doing this morning, Coach?
I'm good. I'm good, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. You got all the Nittany Lion stuff right there behind you, and we'll talk more about how it is being a branch campus and that sort of thing, because I am curious to hear about that. But let's start off talking more just about the kind of the recruiting trail and how you go about that. So when do you start usually hearing from players? What year are they in school, and when do you start? At what age are they when you start going out and watching them?
Yeah, so we hear from women's soccer recruits. Like I hear from freshmen all the way up to seniors. Some are really like they're way ahead of the game, and some are late. You know, so typically I'm focusing my time on rising juniors, rising seniors. So juniors that are going to become seniors or sophomores that are going to become juniors. That's sort of where my focus is. And I would say we're trying to get players, obviously being Division III, there's no like national letter of intent, but we're trying to get them verbally committed, either late spring of their junior year or early fall of their senior year. That's sort of like our timetable. And so spring of a prospect's junior year is like the big focus point for me, my program, in terms of identifying players and being able to hopefully by the end of the spring, offer spots and all that stuff. So
Okay. How many inbound contacts would you say you get in a week or a month, or pick a time frame that you want to quantify?
In a week, if there's no showcases coming up, I'm probably getting anywhere between 20 to 50 emails a week from recruits that I'm not in continual contact with. That's just new people. When an event pops up, that number increases because when you sign up to go to an event, kids are emailing you to come watch you play, and so I probably get closer to 50 to 70 emails a week, asking to go play. So I think it's dependent on the time of year, and when events are starting to pop up, which will start happening more in February and March, is sort of those big months where tournaments and all that stuff are starting to come up. So it'll start picking up and everything.
I don't know. With the U.S. men's national team playing in negative 12-degree weather, maybe those college showcases will start popping up in negative.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we have an ID camp coming up February 26th, so I'm hoping it's not too cold. So
I wish you luck on that one. That's for sure. Well, you talk about those first contacts. What are some of the things you like to see in a first contact from a recruit?
That it's not just a blanket email, and that's pretty easy to tell. So I think first and foremost, make sure if you are going to send a blanket email, make sure you have the right coach and the right school in there, because I do get emails with a different university name or a different coach name. But I think the more personalized it can be, the better. Like if you know what you want to study, like make sure we have that major. And I would say if you're really interested in our school or a school, like make sure you mention something about that school or the soccer program, or why you're potentially excited about being recruited to that university or college. So I think the more personalized, the better. And then I always think having highlights on it is great, because if I've never seen you play and you don't have highlights on it, like the response in my email is going to be like, hey, do you have any highlights? So I think if you send that, it saves an email. Yeah, I would say the more personalized it is, and then having, highlights, it doesn't have to be full game. That 3-minute highlight tape, I think is great. So
Great.
that's what we're looking for.
So once you've started your conversations with a player, do you generally continue those on email, or do you prefer text and phone calls?
Yeah, for our top kids, I'm on the phone more with like texting and phone calls. I think, just knowing the landscape of kids today and recruits today, like they're on their phone. So Initial contacts through email, but then, when I'm really interested in a potential recruit, then it all goes through text and email, because I know I'll get faster response.
Sure.
So text, phone call is typically how I operate when I'm seriously interested in someone.
Okay. Now you mentioned the velocity of emails picks up when there's showcases coming up and that sort of thing. So where do you spend a majority of your time when it comes to recruiting? What tournaments do you like to go to? Are you watching any high school games? How are you seeing players when you're out and about, and how much are you out and about?
I'm at most of our regional stuff. So I think the big ones, like, the Penn Fusion Winter Showcase is coming up, just because a lot of the regional teams will be there. Top regional teams will be there. Jeff Cup's a big one in Virginia. That's more of a national event, I would say.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of the regional teams will be there. And then there's some local ECNL and Girls Academy events. Like, there's a Girls Academy event down in North Carolina this year. There's PDA in New Jersey does an ECNL event every year, so we'll be at that. And then PA Classics has a lot of big events too in the central PA area. So those, I would say, I mean, we attend more, but I would say those are like the big ones for us, where we're spending a lot of our time. I mean, EDP's got a bunch of showcases, National League, all that stuff. But those are, like, I would say, the bread and butter, like where we get the most bang for our buck. And we can see all the top teams, in our region. I mean, I think being a state school, like, that's our advantage, is our ability to recruit regionally. And we're in a great part of the country for soccer. So we don't have to go far to find top level kids.
Absolutely. So, obviously you're a state school, so recruiting PA makes the most sense, but do you guys do any international recruiting at all?
Very little and I think we just don't have the niche for it. Like, we don't have like an unbelievable international scholarship. But I think what's unique with our campus is we have an award called the Discover Award, which basically any state touching the state of Pennsylvania, if they have over a 3.2, like, they qualify for this award, and it basically brings it down to a comparable cost of in-state tuition. So I would say, yeah, we spend a lot of time in PA, obviously, but New Jersey, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, New York, like any state touching PA, like, we're gonna have our hand in those states. And I think you can see that from our roster. We're predominantly PA, but we do have kids coming from New York, New Jersey, because we can get the cost down to what a Pennsylvania kid's gonna pay if they've got the GPA.
Sure. Well, let's talk about cost for a minute. Obviously, you're Division III, so no athletic scholarships. So, what kind of other money are most of your students getting? Or do you put kind of a bigger emphasis on some more, I guess, players with high academic achievement, because the chances are they're going to get more aid? How does that work for you guys as a D3 school?
Yeah, I think, we do. I mean, on the pamphlets at any recruiting event, typically you can see their GPA. And yes, that's going to help with their ability to get more scholarship. But I also think it's a direct correlator of that student athlete's maturity, like their ability to handle club soccer and high school soccer and probably other sports they're playing, and be able to handle their grades. So I don't necessarily look at the GPA as like, oh, we can get them money. I look at it more so from like, am I going to have to worry about them in college? So it doesn't mean we don't take risks on kids, but I would say for the most part, I think it helps my conversations with recruits and why either they're struggling and, if they have a great GPA, I don't even have to worry about it. But yeah, I mean, the higher their GPA, the more likely they are to get academic money. We've got a Provost scholarship. We've got a couple other academic scholarships where when they apply to Penn State Harrisburg, they just get put in that pool if they qualify for it. And then there's other scholarships that they can apply for too online, but that could be like a leadership scholarship, and they have to go in and actually research those scholarships and see if they qualify. So I would say there's 4 main academic scholarship. The first is the Discover Award, which is for out of state touching Pennsylvania. Then there's a Provost, which is only for in-state Pennsylvania students. And then there's 2 additional academic scholarships where it doesn't matter where you're from. If you've got a GPA, right now with COVID, a lot of schools are test optional. We currently are. So if you've got the GPA to qualify for that, you get put sort of in that pool, and hopefully you get chosen.
Okay, awesome. So with all the recruiting you're doing, in a typical year, how many players are you trying to bring in? What's your ideal recruiting class size?
Whatever I graduate. So I look at, okay, who am I graduating? What spots do I need to fill based on graduation? And that's what I fill. So like this year we lost 10 players. We're going to bring in, 11 players. We're probably going to bring in 11 to 12 players. The next year, we're graduating a smaller class. So it's going to be a smaller class. Obviously we want to bring in more talent, but like our culture and environment is really important. So I'm not interested in having a 35-person roster just to bring in as many talented people as possible. And they have to fit, and they have to be a good fit for how we desire to play. So just because somebody's a good player doesn't mean they necessarily fit how we want to play. And so we also take that into account as well.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. What is it that you value the most from a soccer perspective when you're evaluating talent? Is it their technical ability, their soccer IQ? What is it that you're putting the most value on from a playing perspective?
I would say their athleticism. We desire to be a team that has the ball and imposes our will on the game. But anybody that watches college soccer, I think the most important moments in the game is how you handle transition, offensively and defensively. And so, you need to have athletes that can cover the ground and cover the space. And we want to be a very high pressing team. And so that requires players that can close spaces quickly, which means you have to have a very high fitness level, but you also have to have a certain pace to be able to play. So I would say that's probably the first thing we look for, is their athleticism. And then obviously, basic technical ability. They don't need to be a world beater, but can you do simple things well? And that looks different within positions. Center back's got to be good in 1v1 defense, win head balls, and be able to make good decisions passing out of the back. Whereas, a left midfielder, right winger, they need to be able to run 1v1 and create service and scoring opportunities. So we're not looking for a complete player, but we're looking for players that are fast, work hard, and can do their job and would fit into what we desire to do really, really well. And then there's the intangible pieces. I do look at, how do players respond to coaching? How do they respond to their teammates in times of adversity? Because typically the kid that I see mouth off to their coach or mouth off to their parent or mouth off to their teammates, that's a problem I'm inheriting. And so we look at that piece too. And that piece is just as important, because again, ideally I don't want to have to deal with a lot of those problems. And so we look at that in the recruiting process. And if we see that in a player, we have conversation about why that is. Because if players can't take coaching, there's no way for them to be able to grow as a player going into college.
Amen. I've been preaching that sermon a lot recently. Awesome. Well, last question on the recruiting topic here. How do transfers and walk-ons kind of fit into your school's mix of recruiting?
Well, yeah, the transfer portal's opened everything up, right? And I think you're seeing it more in college football maybe than in D3 women's soccer. Sure. But I think we certainly look at the transfer portal. Our goalkeeper from this past year was unbelievable. Transfer portal, from a Division II school, and did great for us. I think the transfer portal, there's many reasons why a kid goes into the transfer portal. And so for us, I think I make sure I vet that process very carefully. So like, I typically will not talk to a recruit until I talk with the college coach and why they're in the portal. You know, because sometimes it's their grad transfer and their school doesn't have their program. And so they got to transfer to play their last year of eligibility. Sometimes it's they were a cancer to the team. And so I don't care how good you are, like that's not something I want. And so, you know, I want to first know why they're in the portal if we're going to take a transfer. Then the second piece is obviously like, what type of impact did they have in their program, right? You know, was it they were coming off the bench and want a more increased role, and then maybe they can do that here? Did they not play at all? And so, you know, do I see them playing for me? You know, so then it's getting college film and watching them play. You know, I'll be honest, if they don't have college film, I'm a little hesitant, because that means they probably didn't play much in college. And so I'm like, maybe it changes at my program, right? Like, you know, if it's a D1 transfer, they didn't play, like, yeah, they could probably come and play here. You know, so yeah, I look at, you know, I obviously want to see them play. I won't just recruit a transfer blindly, but it is something that we look at. I do look at it. You know, and we had 2 transfers this past year that were unbelievable for us. Impact players, great kids. One's actually the goalkeeper staying on our staff. Like, she valued the experience, and, you know, the other one's an incredible leader on our team and was our leading goal scorer. So the transfer portal can be great. I mean, you never want to see a kid go into the transfer portal, but it is a tool to, I think, help recruit our prospective student athletes maybe find a better home. You know, and so yeah, we use it. But again, some years we'll get one, other years we won't. So
Okay. Well, let's shift gears a little bit, talk about the school itself. So what is it like being you're Penn State Harrisburg, you're not Penn State, you know, main campus. So what's that dynamic like, just in terms of being a standalone branch campus?
yeah, so there's a bunch of different branch campuses through Penn State, and they're all different sizes, offer different things. So, you know, there's some branch campuses that are only 2+2, where like you go 2 years to a branch campus and you go to main campus after that. We're not. We offer 4-year degrees. We offer a bunch of undergrad majors, masters, doctoral, associates. We offer it all. You know, I would say right now, I think we're the biggest branch campus. It's between us and another. We've got 5,000 students. And so there's a variety. I mean, like, you've got main campus, who's got a lot. And then you've got us and I think Barron, who have around 5,000. And then I think more standard numbers for Division III, which is, you know, anywhere between 3,000 to, you know, that 1,500 mark. I mean, you got some less than that. Even though we are Penn State Harrisburg, all of the students that come here, their degree doesn't say Penn State Harrisburg on it. It says Penn State. And so they get the same resources that a kid at main campus gets. You know, we get the Big Ten library network. Our kids get a Penn State degree, and all the benefits with that. You know, Penn State's the biggest alumni network in the world. So they get that added benefit. You know, so we can pretty much sell in our recruiting process. And this is sort of, I guess, sort of my tagline, like, our kids are going to get a Big Ten education and get to play Division III soccer, right? And continue their playing career. Because, right, you know, to be able to say like, yeah, I graduated from Penn State, you know, is different than maybe with that degree saying Harrisburg, that degree saying Harrisburg underneath it. And so, and our school, like, we've got main campus kids coming down here doing research because, for whatever reason, the major that we offer has better facilities than what's up at main campus. So, like, you know, and that's across all the branch campuses. So it's a unique relationship. You know, being able to have the Penn State name and have a national name, and our kids get the same benefits that a normal student at main campus would get. but be able to continue their their athletic career. So, there are some differences, obviously smaller campus. I think you're going to get a Division III field, but in terms of your education, like you're going to get a Big Ten education, and you're going to have the Big Ten resources, and our kids get access to the football games. Like they get tickets to the football games, they get access to the basketball games, all that type of stuff. So like, again, they get they pretty much get the same access to Penn State sporting events and all that stuff that a normal student at main campus would get.
How far is main campus? I'm
Hour and 15 from us.
okay.
Yeah,
That's
we're
what
really
I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, pre-COVID, we were actually having free shuttle services going up to main campus for athletic events, thon, like all those different types of things. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
So so that's a great description. Besides that, that kind of thing, what's some of the things your school is the Harrisburg campus is known for? What are some awesome things about the school that somebody's not going to find just by clicking on the website?
Yeah. I think our main majors here, I mean, we've got an incredible engineering department with a brand new facility, basically. So like state-of-the-art equipment. And then our sciences are also really big. So whether that be kines, bio, we've got state-of-the-art labs, we've got professors doing research here, and so that we have all those opportunities. And obviously being near, the College of Medicine, which is in Hershey, like we're 15 minutes away from that. Like it's unbelievable. So like for our students in the science field, like, yeah, they get opportunities that are right in their backyard. And then obviously business, like we're in the capital. So like there are opportunities to, get internships in Harrisburg, to hop on an Amtrak train, which we have right across the street, and go to Philly, and do internships in big cities, is awesome, and, I would say, it would take you coming on campus to see, but like we're heavily like we want to grow. We're trying to grow to 7,000 students right now. So right now we've got in the works, like, a new academic building. Our turf field's brand new. We're looking to build, a permanent, like 1,000-seat bleacher facility at the turf field. So what we're investing both academically and into athletics for a Division III program, I think is really unique. We get to provide our kids awesome experiences, go on overnight trips. We're really well supported by our athletic department, and our ability to be athletically competitive, I think on a national scale, and but also make sure our student athletes have all the resources available to them to be successful. And that's Big Ten library network. We've got free tutoring services. And I think the other unique thing about, and good, bad, I think it's just different. I think a Division III experience, you get the face-to-face relationship with your professor, right? And that's something unique where, you might not get that at main campus, just being in bigger lecture classes, right? And that's something we get here. So, our professors are unbelievable working with our student athletes because they actually have relationships with them. And so there's a name to the face, and so, but I mean, in terms of what we have to offer, I think just with what we're investing to give our student athletes just an unbelievable experience on the field, and off, I think is unique in terms of, like I said, free tutoring services, Big Ten library network. We actually have a faculty athletic like mentor for our program alone, where our kids can go with any types of issues. It could be like, hey, I'm struggling in this class. Like, how can what would help me prepare for this? What resources do we have that I don't know about that I can go use? or, like professors giving them extra work because they have to miss class for an away game, like he would step into that. And so that's something unique. And then I think our housing situation is awesome. So Penn State Harrisburg, like if you go on the website, you're like, they only offer 900 dorms, and you're like, well, 5,900 dorms, how does that work? We have 2 off-campus apartment complexes literally right next to campus. And so no more than a 10-15 minute walk to their furthest class. The reason why they're called off campus is because it's not owned by Penn State. Only Penn State students can live in it. But our freshmen are living in 3-bedroom apartments, fully furnished, kitchen, their own bedroom. Like, it is not a standard dorm experience.
Sounds way different than what I had.
Yeah. Like, me too. I mean, so like when I did like an apartment tour with one of our recruits, like the first time, one of our players shows the apartment. I'm like, wow, you got a lot of nice stuff in here. And she's like, yeah, this is all given to us. I mean, they get a couch, they get full-size bed. I mean, they provide like 52-inch plasma screen TV, laundry's in their apartment, and it's less expensive than living on campus. So most of our students live off campus. But when I say off campus, again, I would say it is
campus adjacent.
Campus adjacent. That's the best way to put it. I mean, like our practice field is basically like in the middle, or our grass practice field is like literally right next to one of the apartment complexes. Like, it's like spitting distance is like how close it is. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great. Well, so thanks. That was awesome information. So specifically, how do your student athletes kind of balance their school and sport commitments together in terms of practice time, in terms of working with professors, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So so the first thing, our student athletes do get priority sign up. So like if you're an athlete, like you get to sign up for your classes beforehand. So I tell them to try and block out a certain time. Doesn't always work, but we figured out. So our kids aren't missing class for practice. So my job is to work my practice schedule around our kids in the program. The other thing we have is common hour, which is Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, which is there's no class from 11:30 to basically 1:30. So we can practice those days in the middle of the day, which is really nice. In terms of how they balance it, I think it's different for each player, depending on the major. But I mean, for example, like when we go on the road, I'll make sure that they, if it's a 4-hour trip, like one of those hours, like it's just study time. Like there's no talking, like they got to do work. And if they, for whatever reason, don't have work, then they got to read a book or something, like, but they're like, that's just your time to do your work. So we schedule that into our away trips. I think I'm different in terms of our philosophy of like training. Like, we don't train for like 2-3 hours. We train for an hour and a half, and we do 2 scouting reports a week. So like, it's not asking a ton of their time. But they have their schedule ahead of time. Like when they come into preseason, they know exactly what their day looks like. And normally I'll have an individual meeting with them. Like, okay, what classes are you taking? What are going to be the classes that you're going to that you could potentially struggle through? Do we need to get a tutor set up now? And so I have those meetings with them to make sure that they're doing well with their time management, which I think is the biggest thing. But our kids have done a great job in the classroom. So I haven't had to do like a mandatory team study hall other than when we're on the road. That's credit to them. Again, I think it goes back to the recruiting philosophy of like, yeah, for the most part, we're recruiting high level students in the classroom. And I talk with them straightforward in the recruiting process. I'm like, we have all the resources available to them to be successful. But I don't want to spoon feed them, because I think that does them a disservice for life after school. And so we if they need help, like they come to me or they go to a professor. And that's the way I encourage them to go about it, because that's what they're going to have to do in life afterwards. Like there's not going to be a coach holding their hand, walking them through it. I'm also like, you're paying a pretty penny to get an education. And right now, education costs just keep climbing. And so I'm like, if you don't want to go to class and you want to waste this opportunity, I'm like, that's your $25,000 down the tube. And so I try and paint that realistic picture for them. But I would say just through meeting with them pretty regularly throughout the semester. And then we do have progress reports twice a semester where they actually take a handwritten copy into a professor. And it's not giving me their grade, but it's like, basically, how are they doing attending class? How are they doing with their homework assignments? How are they doing with tests? And basically they can check satisfactory, unsatisfactory, and then they have a section where they can put notes. And so, a third of the way through the year, I know where they all stand. 2/3 of the way through the year, I know where they all stand. So I feel like I can at least help them, guide them if they are having struggles.
I think that's great. I when I was a D2 coach, I did the same thing just to stay on top of them, and it really, the accountability is always a good thing to do. So we've been having great conversation. I don't want it to end, but let's move on to the last segment so I don't keep you too long here. And let's talk about a little bit more about soccer specific, the team and that sort of thing. So if I'm an incoming freshman, should I expect to not play, to fight for a spot? Do you guys have like a reserve team or anything like that? Or how does that work if I'm a new player coming in?
We don't have a reserve team. So like I said, who I bring in, like, you're on the team, you're a part of the team. There's only a varsity squad. I don't want to have a JV squad. We're going to carry anywhere between 26 to 29 players. And that's typically it. I mean, the COVID year obviously has messed that up a little bit. So maybe in a year we might go over, but that's not out of intent. Freshmen coming in have every opportunity to play. It's not I don't really see graduation class when I'm deciding my lineup. I'm going to pick the players that I feel have the best chance to give us an opportunity to win the game. And so, I mean, this past season, we had the most successful season in program history, and there were 7 first-year players, right? Some were true freshmen. Some it was just their first college season because they didn't have one because of COVID. So, I mean, all in all, we had 7 first-year players, on a team that went to the NCAA tournament, won the conference title, won 12 games. We basically broke every record in program history.
Awesome.
So for me, I don't see graduation class as a determiner for, you start, you play, or you get this many minutes. I think you have to earn it. My relationship with the individual player doesn't have weight in deciding who I play and who and how many minutes somebody gets. Like, you earn that on the practice field. And so a freshman coming in has every opportunity. A senior that started 4 years of her career, I think she naturally has an advantage because you know what you're going to get. But, if a freshman comes in and is better, they're going to play.
Okay. Makes sense. So besides yourself, how big is your soccer staff, and what roles do each of the staff kind of play?
Yeah. I have 2 associate head coaches that just got promoted to associate head coaches this past winter. So we're really excited about that for them. My first assistant or my first associate head coach, her name's Alandra Gorton. She actually played for me when I was a head coach at Eastern University, which is down in Philly. So she's living in the area. Her main responsibilities, I mean, she does a lot. She does a lot of investing in the players off the field. Obviously being a male head coach, there's a barrier between female athletes. That's just natural. And so she's the sounding board, I think, for them when they're struggling with stuff that they wouldn't feel comfortable bringing to me, or maybe 2 of my other male assistants. And then she was an all-region midfield player, so she handles a lot of what's going on in our midfield, offensively, defensively. that's her primary focus is what's going on with our central midfield players in training. And then she runs a lot of like our warm-ups and, cool downs and all that type of stuff. And then she's on the recruiting trail with me. She goes to quite a few events. Sometimes it's both of us together, sometimes me just sending her out by herself. So she does that too. And then Ryan Sipes, my other associate head coach. So he primarily works with our goalkeepers and back four. He played professionally, played at the D2 level. He's got his own goalkeeper academy in the central PA area and is a goalkeeper coordinator for a couple clubs. He's done an awesome job. Just shoring up us defensively, how our backs move, the communication between our goalkeeper and our backs. And he does a lot of like scouting set pieces for us. So team set pieces. And he helps me with overall scouting report too. But I mean, that's his primary focus is scouting reports. And then he's also on the recruiting trail too. So, I mean, he'll be at some things by himself, or he'll be with me at some bigger events. So they do a lot. And then I've got a volunteer assistant. His name's Rudy. He's actually been in the program longer than any of us three coaches. Like he was here with the old head coach. I actually worked with Rudy when I got out of school and was a technical director at a local club. So we worked together. So we had prior experiences together, and he helps a lot with like our subbing patterns in games, and just overall running of the session. So sometimes he's helping set up sessions, tear down sessions, and is just sort of there to help with whatever's going on. Obviously he's more of a volunteer role, so not required to be on the recruiting trail. He does do some things, but he, again, volunteer role. It's hard to be like, you got to do Y and Z. Right. But he does, he does a lot, he was great in my transition to being a head coming here. It's been great kind of having him here and kind of keeping some familiarity, within the program, because it was just a lot of new for the players. New assistants, new head coach, 2 weeks before preseason. So he was at least the one familiar person there.
Great. No, it sounds like you got a great staff. That's impressive for a lot of D3 programs don't have that much help for the head coach. Heck, even when I was a D2 coach, I didn't have anywhere near that kind of help. That's awesome. Well, so one last final question. This is kind of the catch-all. What else would you like anybody to know about your program, your school, that maybe you haven't said already? This is kind of your last chance to get it out there.
Yeah, I think with our program, we desire to have the best environment. We want to just be the best place to play Division III soccer, and that doesn't necessarily mean we have to win a certain amount of games. We just want the best environment. We want to provide the best training environment where players can grow. We want to maximize their 4-year careers as much as we can, and maximize their potential individually and collectively as a group. But we're also a program that's aspiring, I think, to do big things. We want to be nationally relevant. We want to hopefully get to a place where, we want to compete for national championships. And we don't talk about those things. I'll never set expectations of we have to win this or we have to win that. But we want to risk our heart in what we do. And but we also want to love the people we do it with. And so we invest a lot in our team culture, our environment. Players are living together, spending time together off the field. And so, I think for any student athlete or potential student athlete that wants to come and play here, my hope is that your 4-year experience leaves an unspeakable impact on your life. And so, you know, the point of soccer, and I think college soccer, is to win. But my purpose is to make sure that when they leave and they graduate, like, they're taking what they learned from the program to impact the world in a positive way. And I've always told our players this, like, I won't know, and my assistants won't know if we've done a good job until 5 years after they've graduated, and we get to see them come back for an alumni game and see what they're doing with life. You know, so you know, it's a program where
I love it. I love it.
yeah, it's a program where I think you're going to love what you do. It's going to be hard. It's going to be rewarding. You know, but you're going to love the people you do it with, and you're going to grow as a person, as a player. And yeah, you're going to maximize, you know, the gifts that you've been given and have worked so hard to get. So
awesome. Well, Brandon, hey, I appreciate it. It was awesome. Really do appreciate you taking the time, and you know, from you and I, the fellow D3 players, you know, have I know I have an affinity in my heart for those D3 programs.
Yep.
So it's awesome. I love what you guys are doing, and hopefully we'll get a bunch of kids watching this and sending you very specific emails with highlight clips and nothing but good grades, and making sure that they want to be you know, be better people when they leave than when they started, because that's always the goal. So
Yep.
thanks again, man.
Yeah, no problem, Matt.